ये कोशिश करते हैं कंडेंसेशन पॉलीमर्स आज हम खत्म कर लें कि वी हैड डन कि polymers were small monomers units joining up. Polyester was one example, so we did polyesters last time. Uske andar there were two monomers that were used. One was a diol, और फिर आपके पास दूसरा था which was a dicarboxylic acid. यानी और box could be anything. ठीक है, it's just a molecule that has OH groups on both sides. So basically, box just shows that we don't care what's in the middle. Or it could be a molecule that has carboxylic acid groups on both sides. So diols, dicarboxylic acid, diols, dicarboxylic acids, they just repeat alternatingly thousands of times. और फिर बीच में से H and OH, they get removed. H and OH get removed. Water keeps getting removed. So you're left with the cedral bond O and you're left with an oxygen on one side. Oxygen on one side, cedral bond O on the other side. So basically ester links बनना शुरू हो जाते हैं, lots and lots of them. ठीक है, that's known as an ester linkage, and that's your polyester. Polyester means many esters. So it's a long chain used in fabrics, clothes वगैरह. ठीक है, ये जो कपड़ों के धागे हैं, they're all polyesters. बीच में ये ester link होता है. The other way to represent this is you just draw के उस point तक draw करते हो जहां से it starts repeating again. So this thing over here, this particular part is repeating over and over again. उसके बाद दोबारा वही चीज repeat हो रही है, फिर दोबारा वही चीज repeat हो रही है. So this is what a polyester is. तो अब अगला कर लेते हैं polyamide, which is kind of exactly or almost the same. अच्छा, polyamides में है आपके पास है, you've got two. One of them is पहले तो examples कर लेते हैं. For polyamides. अच्छा, one example is कि you can make nylon. एक synthetic polyamide होते हैं, so we'll talk about synthetic. Synthetic is man-made. तो ये जो आपके everyday use में ना जो plastics या polymers होते हैं. Synthetic polyamide is nylon, ropes वगैरह. ठीक है, fishing nets. तो nylon ropes and fishing nets. अच्छा, and there's another one which is अच्छा ये तो वो हो गया. एक Kevlar. Kevlar is often used in bulletproof jackets. अच्छा ये तो है. और फिर एक नेचुरल पॉलीएमाइड है. Now नेचुरल पॉलीएमाइड में आता है आपके पास अच्छा, what's a natural polyamide? That's proteins. I mean, we are basically a polyamide. I mean, every cell, every membrane, every hair, I mean, even your nails, they're basically proteins. So your proteins are natural polyamides. So aap bane hue, you're basically a polyamide. So proteins are an example which are made from amino acids. तो पहले तो monomer कर लेते हैं कि what's the monomer in this case? Second. अच्छा, the monomer. And we'll start with the synthetic polyamide. कि इसका monomer क्या है? So synthetic polyamides have two monomers. Monomer 1 So similar to the previous one, the monomer it's got NH2 groups on both sides. So that is monomer number 1. And this one is known as a diamine. अब फिर आपके पास you've got monomer number 2, which is again a dicarboxylic acid. तो serial bond O NOH उस मॉलिक्यूल के दोनों साइड्स पे अच्छा उसके मॉलिक्यूल के दोनों साइड्स पे डाइकार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड होगा. That's your monomer number 2. So dicarboxylic, basically carboxylic acid, 2 of them. So these are your 2 monomers which are used. और होगा वही जो पहले होगा. The only difference is that the monomers are different. So pretty much the same thing would repeat. Okay, these would repeat endlessly thousands of times. These monomer 1 and monomer number 2 are going to repeat. ये दूसरा आ गया. And then there might be a third one. अच्छा ये सारे repeat हो रहे हैं. और exact same चीज होगी कि the H and the OH will get removed. So the H is going to be removed and the OH is going to be removed. Water produce hoga. The OH and the H are going to be removed. And it just continues. The H and the OH from the carboxylic acid. The OH and the H from the carboxylic acid. Either side se bhi H आपका remove हो जाएगा. OH उधर कहीं से remove हो जाएगा. So I mean just continues. H, OH, carboxylic acid, OH. So these are going to be gone. तो इसी को दोबारा से redraw कर लेते हैं. It's the same 2 monomers that are repeating endlessly. और बीच में there's a condensation reaction now. And what will now happen is कि आपके ये सारे आपस में जुड़ना शुरू हो जाएंगे. इनके बीच में से H और OH निकालना शुरू कर दो. तो OH H वाटर बनता जा रहा है. So they're all forming water. उधर एंड से रिमूव हो गए और यहां से भी रिमूव हो गया. So each one of them ended up forming water molecules, and these would then get together and they would eventually join up. So these would ये इसके करीब आ गया. Same thing happening. अच्छा ये सारे अच्छा एक दूसरे के करीब करीब आ गए and they will all start connecting with each other. These two will connect this, these two will connect, these two are going to connect, ये दोनों connect कर जाएंगे. End वाला वैसे ही छोड़ देना है कि it's still continuing. Make sure you draw these continuation bonds इस side पे भी. Make sure you leave one bond hanging there because it's continuing. And that's your polyamide. और साथ water produce होगा. So this is the entire reaction. And everywhere there is a condensation reaction that's happening, और वहां पे एक water का molecule साथ produce हो रहा है. ये जहां भी linkages बन रही हैं, these are all water molecules are getting produced. So सारा के साथ there are water molecules that are getting produced. Or that's about it. इसमें the linkage is known, it's known as a polyamide is because the linkage is known as an amide link. कि आपके पास सीरियल बॉन्ड हुए और साथ क्या है NH है. तो ये सारे that's your linkage, and that's known as an amide linkage. So this is known as an amide linkage, and that's known as a polyamide. What you could do is, instead of drawing the whole thing, what you could also do is क्या बस उसका एक repeat unit, मेरे ख्याल से कहाँ से दोबारा से NH start हो रहा है यहाँ तक, तो आप उसका एक repeat unit copy करो and just write N next to it. ये हम करते हैं कि we can just quote this and say कि भाई यही चीज, this is the thing that is repeating over and over again, so we can write just N. ये clear है? Zainab, Salim, is this clear? अच्छा तो बस एक तो ये याद रखना, you'll be exactly asked to draw this polyamide and similarly polyesters. अच्छा, now this one specifically is for a synthetic polyamide, मतलब नायलॉन और केवलर नेचुरल. अब प्रोटीन्स का स्ट्रक्चर देख लेते हैं. तो प्रोटीन्स are slightly different, very slightly different. I mean, that results in the same thing, but just very slightly different. The proteins, remember, are made from amino acids. यानी हमारा जो basic building block है, that's an amino acids. So these are your natural polyamides. They're also known as polypeptides bio के अंदर. और polypeptide. बस एक चीज गूगल कर लूं कि तो ये बाद में देखेंगे. अच्छा, polyamide or polypeptide. So it's going to result in the same thing. It is a polyamide. But the main difference is monomer. Monomer is different. Okay, the monomer that is used, that is an amino acid. So that one is an amino acid. Amino acid और normal monomers में क्या फर्क है? Amino acid is a box. Again, we don't care what's inside it. उसमें होता है कि उस बॉक्स के एक साइड पे उसकी दो साइड्स हैं. There's a group that's connected on one side. There's a group that's connected on the other side. तो amino acid में क्या होता है कि one side पे there's an acid group which is carboxylic acid. और जो दूसरी साइड है ना, that is your amine side, which is basically NH2. So it's kind of the same thing except with a minor difference के पुराने वाले केस में ना आपके पास दो अलग-अलग monomers थे. You had two different monomers. One of them had NH2 on both sides. The other one had carboxylic acid on both sides. Now you have a single monomer when you're making proteins. And that monomer has both things. It's got carboxylic acid on one side and amine on the other side. So pretty much kind of the same thing happens. कि आपके पास ये सारे amino acids होते हैं. ठीक है, हर दफा इस बॉक्स में, I mean, you've got the human body is made out of 21 amino acids. The only difference between amino acids is कि ये बीच में जो चीज है ना, that is different. I mean, you could have CH2 over here or something else. So the middle part is different. Otherwise, they all have pretty much the same kind of structure. और होगा भी यही कि वही चीज होगी जो पहले हो रहा था कि when you have all these amino acids together, so the next thing that happens is that the OH is lost and the H is lost. ठीक है, और वो चलता रहेगा. OH is lost and H is lost. OH is lost, H is lost. They end up forming water molecules. OH is lost, और वो फिर उसके बाद कोई नहीं है मेरे ख्याल से. ठीक है, इस साइड पे भी आप एंड इस साइड पे चल रहा है. ठीक है, H is lost. So it's exactly the same thing. The H and OH are forming water molecules, which is why it's called a condensation polymer. अच्छा, ये सारे आपस में जुड़ जाएंगे. They'll get attached to each other and they'll get connected. तो इनके बीच में से हम वो H, OH ये सारा रिमूव करना शुरू कर देते हैं. ये सारा water, and remember thousands of them are going to get connected. ठीक है, think of the human hair, तो उसमें इसी तरह होगा. या human skin, that would be kind of the same thing. Okay, there would be lots and lots of amino acids that will get connected to each other. तो ये सारे आपस में, final thing is they'll start connecting. And they'll start forming amide or peptide bonds. So right in the middle over here, and whenever an amide is formed, so whenever amide is formed, so water molecules are साथ produce होते हैं हर जगह. तो ये हर जगह water molecules, and these are that's your amide link. ठीक है, Salim, is this clear? Zenab clear? अच्छा, so तो ये आपका ना that's it, that's your polyamides. उसमें दो हैं. ठीक है, एक natural है polyamide, which is a polypeptide. कि उसके अंदर you've got monomer which is amino acid. ठीक है, that's your monomer. वो सारे उसी तरह कनेक्ट हुए हुए. एक ही मॉलिक्यूल होता है, उसके one side there is NH2, on the other side there's carboxylic acid. You've got synthetic polyamides. There you have two different amino acids. One has NH2 on both sides, the other one has carboxylic acid on both sides. और वो सारे आपस में कनेक्ट हो जाते हैं और बीच में से HOH निकलता है and they join up. अच्छा, how do you identify के whether you have, I mean, by just looking at it, how do you identify whether something is a protein or it's a synthetic? मतलब यहाँ पे हम लिख लेते हैं क्योंकि इनके स्ट्रक्चर्स बड़े सिमिलर हैं. So how do you identify whether it's a protein versus a synthetic polyamide? यानी नायलॉन वगैरह या वो जो भी सिंथेटिक पॉलीअमाइड केवलर, ठीक है. हाउ डू यू फिगर दैट आउट? तो मैं दोनों को ड्रॉ कर लेता हूँ आमने सामने. Remember, the structures would be kind of very similar. तो एक ये और दूसरा वाला हमने ये बनाया था सिंथेटिक का. मोनोमर्स डिफरेंट थे, they had different monomers. ये दोनों मैंने आमने सामने से एरो को हटा देते हैं and I'll remove this as well. अच्छा, so if you were to look at these two structures carefully, they're kind of the same. Serial bond O and NH, serial bond O and NH, box. Okay, so it's kind of exactly. Okay, they're exactly the same. I mean, remember, dono polyamides hai. Okay, they have exactly the same linkages. The starting point is different. The monomer is different for protein, and the monomers are different for a synthetic polyamide. Okay, like the end result is that you're kind of getting the same thing. Salim, ये clear है?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, लेकिन दोनों को देख के, if both are drawn, how would you figure out which one is a protein and which one is a synthetic polyamide? So remember this. How do you figure out which one is a protein and which one is a synthetic polyamide? आप खाली ना इस बॉक्स को देखो, ठीक है? तो if you have different groups on both sides, I mean, this side is serial bond O, and that side is NH2. Then that indicates that that's a protein. क्योंकि वो अमाइनो एसिड से बना है. Because the amino acid monomer had, वो जो molecule होता था उसके both sides were different. One side was carboxylic acid, the other side was NH2. तो जब वो polymer बना तो it still had different groups. Box के they were different groups. अच्छा, when you look at a synthetic polyamide or man-made polyamide, तो वो जो box है ना, you've got the same thing on either side. So there's a very minor difference. I mean, the linkages are kind of exactly the same. बस वो फर्क है कि इसके बॉक्स के दोनों sides they are exactly the same. This box, both sides exactly the same. So this one is a synthetic. Polyamide. अच्छा, ये क्लियर है?
जी सर.
अच्छा, अब ये कि ये दो डिफरेंस आपको देख के ना, you should be able to identify this. Proteins, और फिर वो पूछ भी लेते हैं, once you identify them, how do you, proteins are made from, I mean, they're made from amino acids. While your synthetic polyamides are made from diamines and dicarboxylic acids. दो different चीजों से. अच्छा ये अब बिल्कुल last one. There's another one after this, and that is different. This is the third one, and that is complex carbohydrates. So that's complex carbohydrates. इसमें क्या है कि इसमें they're made from simple sugars. I mean the monomers that you make them from. ठीक है, the starting building block. So monomers are simple sugars like glucose. Like glucose. अच्छा इसमें क्या है कि we don't care कि what the glucose molecule looks like. तो उसको मैं बस एक बॉक्स से रिप्रेजेंट कर देता हूँ, ठीक है. but उसका actual formula जो है ना, that's C6H12O6. But it's a complicated molecule. It's got I mean, I'll show you what a glucose molecule looks like. हमें उसका formula पता है. So all the atoms, I mean, this is glucose, C6H12O6. I see glucose. और सिर्फ एक ही monomer है. That's it. That's the only monomer. I'll show you what a glucose actually looks like in reality. Or why do we use boxes? क्योंकि इतने बड़े molecule को draw कौन करे? The glucose structure is कहीं पे सारे atoms नहीं show रहे. This one. हाँ. तो ये glucose का molecule है. But the thing is कि उसके एक side पे OH है and the other side there's an OH. So it's, I mean, we don't care what's in the middle. We're not interested in that. And it's time consuming to draw the whole thing. तो बस box draw करो, एक side पे OH है, दूसरी side पे भी there is an OH group. So that is what a glucose looks like. It's six carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 oxygens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 12 hydrogen, C6H12O6. लेकिन हम क्या करेंगे? We'll represent it with this simple representation. And carbohydrates are made purely from just one monomer, that's it. And there would be lots of them. ठीक है, तो thousands of them. And the exact same thing would happen कि H remove होगा or OH remove होगा. That's so H and OH. H and OH. ठीक है, तो हर किसी का H OH remove होता जा रहा है. H and first वाले को OH remove कर देते हैं, ठीक है. So they get removed and they all link up in the middle. तो link up किस तरह करेंगे? K. अच्छा, they'll all link up in the middle. तो link up करने के लिए पहले तो उसको हटा दो. Get rid of OH किया, H किया. OH gone, H is gone. OH is gone. Okay, H is gone. OH is gone. तो बस बीच में से ना H, OH आप remove करते रहो. The only thing that would be left after this is done is you'll just have oxygens that would be coming in the middle. हर किसी का ना there would be there are going to be oxygens that would be coming in the middle, and that's it. That's your monomer. Sorry, that's your polymer. And what is repeating over and over again? It's कि अगर मैं यहाँ से शुरू करूँ, तो when does it start repeating again? It starts repeating right after this. मतलब उसके बाद वही चीज दोबारा repeat हो रही है. So the basic repeat unit for this polymer is this thing with an O on one side. इस साइड पे डैश है और इस साइड पे भी. तो यही चीज बार बार repeat हुए जा रही है. ठीक है, that's your main repeat unit, and that's what a carbohydrate looks like. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
तो ये सारे खत्म हो गए, sugars और सारे मतलब how do you form carbohydrates? What are the monomers that form those carbohydrates? So that's about it for carbohydrates. तो तीनों कर लिए हमने. We did polyamides, both of them synthetic and natural, and we did polyesters. तो ये तीन आपके पास 3 different types के. You had you had 3 different types of condensation polymers. थोड़ा सा अच्छा, शुगर्स के बारे में सॉरी एक इंफॉर्मेशन मैंने ऐड करनी है अबाउट शुगर्स कि शुगर्स का ना याद रखना कि they have certain characteristic properties. So यहाँ पे ना एक छोटा सा पॉइंट लिख लेते हैं, कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स और शुगर्स. So the two properties are that they always have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. In any sugar, any complex sugar or carbohydrate, you've got carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And the hydrogen to oxygen ratio is always 2:1. So it's always 2:1. तो ये याद रखना है इन दो के बारे में, शुगर्स के बारे में. फिर remember one more thing, if you want to do the reverse. अच्छा, hydrolysis is the process where you break these polymers. Lysis का मतलब भी decomposition होता है. So hydrolysis अच्छा, hydrolysis of condensation polymers. How do you break them? अच्छा, कंडेंसेशन पॉलीमर्स का जो हाइड्रोलिसिस है उसमें ये कि you add the water back again. So for example, you have I mean the water gets added back. तो अगर आपके पास था ये बीच में एस्टर लिंक था, boxes थे, and you had these, and remember it's any condensation polymer, you had ester links, तो बीच में ना वापस water add कर दो. ठीक है, water gets added back, so the molecule would split over here. This point where it's going to break, I mean the linkage would break, and when the linkage breaks, so it's no longer going to be a polymer. वो सारे अलग हो जाते हैं, separate हो जाते हैं. The serial bond O becomes carboxylic acid back again. And this turns into OH back again. Polyamides का भी यही होता है. The water gets added and they turn back into, or they split up. the polymer breaks. तो इसको hydrolysis कहते हैं. The way you do it is you heat it with dilute acid or alkali. Like HCl or heat it with dilute alkali. Like HCl, like NaOH, alkali जो होगी वो NaOH होगा, ठीक है. तो ये जितने भी बनाए ना ये वापस टूट जाएंगे. So Saneem, Zainab, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
बस ये ऑर्गेनिक के सारे नोट्स भी कंप्लीट हो गए. We'll just do past papers now related to organic, ठीक है. ये बस लास्ट था. I don't think I've missed anything. कोई अगर चीज मिस भी पास्ट पेपर्स करते हुए ना, so I'll just add it over here, ठीक है. तो कल कंटिन्यू करते हैं, ठीक है. चलिए, ओके एवरीवन,
Allah Hafiz.
अल्लाह हाफिज.